Alright, today we got a 2006 Mercury Montego all-wheel drive, and I'm doing the front left lower rear control arm bushing, which goes right in here. And as with everything else, making a video was an afterthought for me after I'd already mostly got it done. So this is the new bushing that I'm using a press to get on right now. Originally I disconnected that bushing and that one, and I left the lower ball joint in the knuckle over here. And I was able to get the old bushing off, but even after sanding the control arm down, greasing it up, couldn't get the new bushing to go on with a regular hammer, an air hammer. Control arm's too awkwardly shaped to use a ball joint press, because that would have been ideal. So I had to take the control arm out and use 20-ton hydraulic press that I normally use for wheel bearings, but it's doing what I need to do right now. To get the front bushing out, you go up here. It's an 18mm bolt, and on the other side of it there's supposed to be a nut welded in place, such as these marks are, but the nut broke free. It's not a big deal, you get that out. And then there's two bolts that go through here, and on top there's two nuts that you gotta hold while you take them out. Nuts on top were 19. The bolts, I believe, were 18mm. Now a ball joint, to get that out, a lot of times when you loosen a ball joint, it just spins. Right in here, you can see it spinning as you're trying to take the nut off up top. So for this, what I had to do was picture the nut here, 21mm, put a wrench on it, and then I put 10mm socket, long 1/2 inch ratchet. So you put the wrench on first, and then right here, the 10mm bolt head built in. See, it slides right on. So you gotta basically turn the ball joint inside itself to get the nut to come off. It's one of those nylon self-locking nuts, and they kind of become useless after you set them on fire, but it'll still hold it together, or I'll find a new nut. And I had to torch it in order to get it out. So once I get this bushing pushed back on, I'm going to put new bushing, the old one back in. Hopefully get the ball joint in. CV axle goes back in. And then also outer tie rod that I'm also replacing. And hopefully all that nonsense will take care of the clunk that I have in the front end. So I'm going to pause this and continue after I get the control arm back in. So I tried to get the ball joint back in with my air gun. As you can see, that didn't work. So what happens is this little shiny lip right under here is part of the ball joint, and it spins. A lot of times I'll try and get a pry bar right under the ball joint and push up with it, but there's not really much over here to pry on. I tried here, that didn't work. So I'm putting it back on the same way I took it off, which is 21 mil wrench on the nut, 10 millimeter socket on the stud of the ball joint, long handle 1/2 inch ratchet. And so far it's working. So after you get your ball joint in, put the CV axle back where she belongs. There's the ball joint all nice and tight. Put the axle nut back on. I'm sure there's a torque rating for these, but for this I know it's tight. Alright, so I got my control arm in, 2 bolts in the bottom, and 2 nuts on top. And I just got this other bolt through for the front part of the control arm. The only thing you want to be careful of, which of course I didn't and kind of fucked it up, is when you're pressing this bushing on, you can kind of see how far it's sticking out. All the red stuff's just grease I use to make it easier. If you come look at the other side, you can see it's not really sticking out that far from the bushing. It's almost even. Mine's a little further out, so because of that, I kind of did that to the housing. That makes these bolt holes a little uneven. But I just hit it in with a hammer. I tried to hit the bushing sideways to get it to move away a little more. That didn't really work. So if you're doing a bushing this style on a Mercury Montego or whatever other Ford comes with it, and I think BMWs are similar to this as well, and you're going to use a press like I did, you just gotta do it a couple times, maybe. Press the bushing, check, see if it fits, press it a little more, check and see if it fits again, and go back and forth. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but that'd be the right way to do it. Alright, so we're all back together. I put the new tie rod in also. Ball joint's tight, rear bushing's tight, front bushing's tight. So just a recap of everything real quick. Tools you'll need for the front bushing, that's 1 inch sized wrench. Inside here is 18 millimeter. Having a swivel socket, a short extension with your air gun is probably the best way to do it. That's how I did it. These bolts under here are 15 millimeter. These nuts on top are 18 millimeter. Nut for the ball joint's 21. If you have to take it out the way that I did, that's a 10 millimeter bolt head right there. And that's about it. Hopefully next time I'll remember to start my video before I get halfway done the work. Thanks for watching.